there, folks.
Hi there.
It's another episode of Würfel Cast.
It is indeed delightful.
We are at episode 90 and 5. 95.
There
5
we
more
go.
episodes. Reach 100.
That's what
And-
happened. That's how math works.
Yeah, it will be something special.
Okay.
our vidcast, the podcast, lived for so long. It's been quite a few years that we have done
Its
this.
younger brother is catching up on it very quickly.
True. But I mean, somebody has been doing episodes more quickly, putting out episodes
why.
more quickly.
The younger
Yeah.
brother is catching up. That's fine.
You're cheating. Okay, no.
I don't think so. I think it's fairly regular.
True. Anyway, here we are, and we're gonna fire off with our usual format of episode. Yes, just like that. Last time we did, I think, I don't even remember. I think the last time we did a wrap up of 2023 or something like that, probably.
We talked about the cruise, I believe, is what we talked about.
Or the cruise, yeah. Okay, so that's that. So we had a little bit of a special episode. We're gonna get back to our usual themes, and the first one of them is, of course, the Watcher's Babble.
Oh yes.
And yes, you remember now. Okay,
I
so
remember. I'm always remembering.
so now regarding this one, let me talk about a show that you said you said we should learn Korean. That's what you said before we started the podcast.
That's true.
So I've been watching quite a few Korean shows.
Oh no.
I've not learned a thing about Korean language. You know, it's a little bit difficult. It's even difficult for me to what?
In my experience, it involves lots of hitting.
Yeah. Also for me, it's really difficult to remember all the names. I struggle with that. I'm like,
It's because they all sound the same.
Jun Da-yoon said that, and Ju Dan-sun said that. I'm like, who was that? Who? What? Show me the picture so I can, But
Uh-huh.
I've been watching with a few Korean shows, but one of them is a new one. Just came out on Netflix this year. It's called Daily Dose of Sunshine.
My friend recommended that one to me.
I really enjoyed it. It has high ratings on IMDb as well. But I just stumbled upon it and I was like, okay, so this is like a nurse transfers to psychiatric clinic within a university. Like they say, like it's a psychiatric university clinic, and then basically how she evolves as a person, and she wants to do everything for everybody else, neglecting her own health and mental health, etc.
Oh,
and
great
I'm not gonna.
idea.
Yeah, I know. It's just it's very so. Korean shows, they are like if it would be American show, that would be a lot of struggle and then a lot of that thrillery stuff. But with this one, it's so heartwarming of a show, and I cried a lot during the show. It has many sad moments for me, and how different people with different mental issues, how you recognize that, how you help them, how you try not to make it worse, try to understand them, try to include them in the society as well, even if they're struggling. It feels like they are just bad people. They're not. They have issues, and you should not neglect them. And
Okay.
yeah, a bit of romantics going on, but in a very
course.
Korean style. It's very Korean. It's not like, oh, everybody's kissing from episode 1. There's like probably just one kiss during the whole show. they're not really into that,
Okay.
and family, etc. So I don't want to spoil much, but I would recommend you, if you like drama, a heartwarming drama. It's a wonderful, wonderful show.
I see.
All
There you
right.
go.
What about you?
Well, so I mean, I could talk about Drag Race.
No.
Um, so, in addition to several different franchises of Drag Race, right now we're rewatching with Victor, who's still visiting me. We've been rewatching Schmigadoon and Schmicago. And I don't know if you've ever watched those, but they are just delightful. So the first season, so it's a couple that gets trapped in a magical musical land. And the first season, called Schmigadoon, is about sort of those kind of early 1920s musicals, the classics, sort of the Sound of Music, um, you know, Brigadoon, all of those, and they're sort of in this bright, colorful world where things are going on, and they're trying to sort of find themselves. But everyone's sort of in that kind of, you know, airheady old musical style, and it's a lot of fun. And then the second season, they've escaped from Schmigadoon, or found their way out. They're not, it's not a violent, sinister place. They've found their way out, and they, have gone back to life and would really like to go back and see their friends in old Schmigadoon, but you can't go back. And so instead, they go forward and find themselves in Schmicago, which is sort of those, mid-century musicals, the sort of Chicago Pippin, Jesus Christ Superstar style. And, it's a little darker, a little seedier, but equally just as fun. So I've just really been enjoying that. I've watched them a few times, but it's one of those things I show people when they're visiting me, and Victor's been enjoying it. So that's what we've been watching.
Hmm. The
And it
idea
all has
reminds
fun
me of.
music too.
Oh, nice. Yeah. The idea reminds me of another Korean. No, is it Korean or Japanese? Oh no, an Asian show. Alice in
Ooh.
Borderland. If you watch that,
Oh, I
like
think
where
that
they're
one is
trapped.
Japanese.
Japanese, yeah. So they also trapped in some kind of a world. It's there's more a darker theme, much darker theme.
I
Lots
don't
of
think that's
death
a
and stuff.
musical.
No, it's not. I mean, like it's like they are trapped, but then they kind of escape. But are they? Did they escape, and will they end up in another version of that realm? Whatever. It's yeah.
Okay.
It's like, are you really? Have you really escaped? Where you end up? It's
Mm.
okay. All right.
All right.
So
There you go.
you go two wonderful shows to watch
Hmm.
for everybody, and let's get to a gaming stuff called Recent Plays.
All right.
The game is not called Recent Plays. Recent Plays are something we played
That game
recently.
sucks.
Yeah.
It's true.
So Kyle, why don't you start and give me a reason not to
Ooh.
talk about mine?
So, a game that I have been playing recently is a very large game, came from Kickstarter. A lot of games have been showing up lately. It seems to be the receipt season. This is a game called Agimonia, and it is an enormous, enormous box
Okay,
with
got it.
you're in a fantasy world and going through adventures, basically. It does not feel generic, which I'll say is a good thing. You have a a large adventure book. You have a character that you are playing, and you'll take them through. I don't know how many scenarios. I kind of looked at what the cards were for, and there were something like 40 scenarios. And the way that each scenario works is you go in, and there's this deck of cards, and there are these various discovery points. Most of the time, you won't know what you need to do until midway through, and then you kind of figure it out as you go. Sometimes it'll tell you, like the scenario you're seeing right there. That's one of the tutorial scenarios. You have to get that wagon all the way to the end. But of course, things will prevent you from doing that come up as you're experiencing it. And so you're taking your character, and that's not one of the characters. So Victor and I just sort of each chose one, or I chose two to learn the rules, and then gave one to Victor. That's Victor's one right there. And mine's some person who's genderless and has blades and likes fire. Uh, why not? But you're kind of going through, and ultimately you get this goal, and you have to work through it, and you're leveling up scenario to scenario. It's very narrative. The way that you're gonna sort of the core mechanism is you have this list of abilities, and you're going to select one that you're going to use each turn. That will give you your initiative, and then we flip over a card, and that'll sort of determine who goes first, when the monsters go. When you need to do combat, it's roll some dice, get successes, and spend them to fight the enemies. Rules are not that hard. I will say, learning it was a bit of a chore because there's not really a very good rule book. Instead, you have to go through the 3 tutorial scenarios. And the first one is as boring as can be. It's basically just move around and flip cards. Nothing happens. You're just, trying to get a bunch of junk out of this. But it slowly teaches you how to do the tests. Scenario 2 is that one you see right there with the wagon. And then scenario 3 is an actual scenario where things are actually happening. And from
Hmm.
there, it really takes off. The stories have been interesting. You're making choices that are going to influence the world, right? If you anger some people, well, they're not going to talk to you anymore. And the game does a good job of sort of remembering what's been happening. It's one of those games that I'm really having a good time with. I'm looking forward to playing it through to its completion. I'm not sure that after I've done all 40 scenarios, I'll want to jump right back in. And you could play it again and make different choices, I guess, or use a different character. It's very heavily narrative driven, and I'm having a good time with it.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if it's a campaign based. So you have to go through the campaign and scenarios one by one, like
You
progressively.
really do. Well, you're supposed to. I mean, I think if ultimately, I think if you loved scenario 16 and you just wanted to play it, you probably could open it up and play it. But it's designed to go through the scenarios in a particular order so that you get the upgrades and stuff. It's very much a campaign game, and it's kind of supposed to be played that way. I don't know how fun it would be to just open up a scenario and play. Now there are arena scenarios though, which don't have any story elements and I think you probably could, if you had some random people over and wanted to just show them the game, open up to one of the arena combat scenarios and play through that. I think that would work.
Yeah.
Um, because
Yeah.
those are
That's
replayable.
that's a problem I have with some campaign games nowadays. It's just
Oh yeah.
for me, for you, for many people who are avid board gamers, play a lot of games.
Mhm.
Campaign games is not probably the best way to play a game. Like they are. I wouldn't say they're a lifestyle, but they are lifestyle for a while until you finish them. And because we play lots of other games, it's just hard to fit the campaign game into a schedule. If I would
It is.
have just, let's say I would have 5 games, a party game, let's say an engine building game, then I have this campaign game and maybe 2 more card games. Like this is my whole collection. Sure, I would play this campaign game. I would buy a new campaign game, whatever, go through them. Uh, but if you have a bigger collection, it's so hard to justify. So I'm keeping myself away from campaign games mostly nowadays because I just I play 1 or 2 scenarios, and then for a half a year I cannot get back to this game with my, like, if I play with a certain friend or two. I, I have to be very uh, I have to be very careful who I choose to play with, because if they like have just a bit of time, I see them quite rarely. Starting campaign with them is not a great choice.
Yeah, I
So
understand.
yeah, and life happens and etc. So yeah, and then you come back to it's like, what happened in this game? Then it's easier to start again, but then if you start again, you'll be stuck in the same
Oh,
scenario
I
yet again. Oh
I totally hear that. And honestly, when I kind of learned it was a campaign game, I was a little disappointed, I guess I would say. But, it came on the heels of 2 other absolute stinkers of games that we tried. And so we were like, well, all right, it's there. And so, and
yeah,
it's and the box is enormous. And So we set it up and tried it, and it actually turned out to be enjoyable. And I think, I'll play it as long as Victor's here, and then I
Yeah,
might put it away and not try it again for a while.
if you'll be able to play several times in a row, you'll be satisfied with the result.
Yeah,
I've yeah,
we've played about 15 scenarios so far.
look, this is a lot. So this is
That
great.
is.
And I would love to play more campaign. Like I love adventures and stories and progression. I love that, but I'd rather play a video game in that case, just because of the functionality of a campaign board game. But like I would love to dive into them. I would love to play them. I just cannot, justify uh, based on my time and time of the others, etc. So anyway, yeah, okay.
Oh, I get it. I absolutely get it.
All right, for my recent play, what I played recently was a game that I think I mentioned that I'm gonna talk about it later on. Last time we did the Dice Tower Cruise,
Hmm.
and I played it on the Dice Tower Cruise. But as I said, like I'm gonna
Okay.
talk about it next time when I play it more, and that's Septima.
Hmm.
So I played it again, went through the rule book myself, just to remember stuff, etc. It was the first game was a great way to kind of get a grasp of the game, and then now I could like, oh, I see, that's why this rule is here, that's why that and this and that. Anyway, this is a game about witches, and you are a coven of witches, let's say, and you do witchery stuff. You fly around, you get ingredients, you you brew potions, you heal people,
You do.
but you also try to save the other witches from the trials, from bad people, let's say. But there are hunters who hunt you, and you don't want to feel you don't want to look too suspicious. And so we played with the shape-shifting expansion, shapeshifters expansion, that allowed us to to shapeshift and lower the suspicion, because who's gonna be suspicious of a fox or a frog just
True.
hopping around? Yeah. So yeah, but this is like thematically, you can see that it's um if you play it, I can sense the theme, but it's a Euro game. It's a heavier Euro game in a sense, and
Yes.
lots of things going on. You trying to the whole premise of the game, maybe Syria, yeah, those cards, which I adore. You play a card, you both play a card simultaneously, you reveal. It was basically almost the same as with their other game, Trickerion, one of their first games, Trickerion, where simultaneous action selection, where you reveal a card and you go somewhere. Here, you do an action. It's not a worker placement. Trickerion was a worker placement. You go to worker spot. Here, you say that I'm gonna do this or that action. I'm gonna brew potions. I'm gonna heal people. I'm gonna move around more. I'm gonna, move up on the ritual track. Whatever else. I'm gonna shapeshift. And so you do all that stuff. You choose the actions. If you match on the action, you get a bonus. You both get a bonus, but you become more suspicious. The more suspicious you become, the more of a chance you have that the hunters will catch you and take one of your witches away. And you start with the two witches, so it's you want to keep those because they
You
help with
do.
the end game scoring, and they give you opportunities to do end game scoring, and they also give you sort of a special abilities or boosts to those main actions. They make those main actions even better.
Yep.
So I like all of that. It's very procedural in the sense that you do this phase, that phase, the third phase, fourth phase. But I like the ideas of you cannot just go around and collect all the ingredients. It's like based on the lunar track, these two ingredients are available at that time and the other time. So sometimes you risk go near a hunter, but you just want to collect more resources.
Hmm.
You brew different potions to heal people. You also brew potions, which I also enjoy. It's not like just the people you heal. You also brew potions to fly around, like teleport, whatever else, to lower your suspicion. To I don't remember to put a hunter down. There's a lot of things to choose from. If you play, there's a core game, the basic game. There's the full game. Play the full game right away. I mean, full game means that you add some extra witches with the abilities that are based on the spells, the spell track, the ritual track.
Mm-hmm.
So the full game introduces spells as well, which are basically small cards which have special abilities, bonuses. You tap them, you use them. I like all of that. And there's a trial phase where you try to save a witch. If you will be successful by with saving the witch, you will be able to take her into your coven. So now you have more witches, more abilities, and more endgame scoring opportunities. Yeah, the whole thing is very Euro-y, but the whole thing
No.
works. The theme works. It's just so much fun to figure out where to position yourself, when and how. You can see in advance that these two ingredients will be available. You can see in advance that you can match with the Septima this round. You can see in advance that, okay, now I need to shapeshift. Well, the shapeshift expansion basically adds. So each coven now has like 2 animals, and they also have special abilities, but they're limited to what action they can play. So, for example, if you have 8 cards in your hand, you can play all of the 8 cards, whatever. If you're a regular witch, if you transform yourself into a fox, let's say, whatever the animal, the animal itself shows what of the 4 actions you can only play certain 4 actions. So you try to time the stuff in the best way possible, but then while you are in that fox fur, you do not raise suspicion, so you're kind of safe. But then you can turn back anytime. The shapeshift expansion is a small expansion, but I think essential. It's so much fun with it. So yeah, I just enjoy the whole idea of this game. Lots of things going on. I have the deluxeified edition with the cool resources and wooden tokens, etc. And each time you do something, it's not like a point salad in a sense, but each time you do something, you get rewarded for that. You heal person, you go up a track. You go up a track, you get a bonus, etc. So I like the idea. Each time you do something, you kind of get rewarded, and you feel like, okay, I'm gonna progress. I'm gonna go further. Yeah. So Septima, a great Euro game.
Yeah, I need to try it again. I played it just the one time and had a lukewarm experience, but it seems like the kind of game I'm supposed to like. I mean, that I normally do like. So I'm willing to give it another try. I've suggested it to Victor a few times, but things like Agimonia took precedence.
Yeah, yeah, it's something you should definitely play a full game and just throw the expansion in. The expansion does not add a lot of complexity. It's
Good to know.
yeah.
Okay,
So
well, good.
that's that. That's that. Let's get to the next topic, which is crowdfunding. And let me tell you that
Woohoo!
it's dry as Sahara. There's nothing. There's
It is
really nothing.
not a great day, not a great week for that, but we'll end up talking about the same thing probably.
No, not at all. Trust me. I chose something really weird. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we
What
go.
about you?
So on Kickstarter, if I look at what I'm backing these days, there's not very much because there's not very much out there. But what all I'm prepared to talk about is Altered TCG. That's ALTRED.
That's not
So I've
something I
played
would
this one.
choose.
What? That's not something you would choose? Well, I've actually played this one. It's sort of I played the demo version. It's one of those games where you're supposed to sort of gather your deck and build it and whatever. I what you're doing in this game though, it's different than many of the others. I mean, there's some weird hook about printing cards, but I don't care about that. I'm probably only ever going to play this with the base kind of decks if I end up playing it. What you have though is there's this track, and you kind of just skipped over it, but there's this track, and it's going to reveal these symbols that you need. And what you're trying to do is to get your tokens. You have tokens that start on both ends of the tracks, and you win the game if they meet in the middle somewhere. And so you're trying to control an area in one of three different
Yeah.
colors. And if you have the most power in a color in that area that matches what that area's requirements are, your character moves forward. And so that's what you're doing. It's not sort of your combat trying to take somebody's life down, standard card game. It's a little bit different in that it's this odd area control, and all the cards you play last only one round, and then they come off the board. And some of them have and they sit in this reserve area, and some of them have effects that are better or lower cost, so you can play them again. But at that point, they're dead and they go away. So it's a very small game ultimately. Um, this Kickstarter, I don't understand it because there's not, at least when I looked at it, there wasn't a single pledge level that got you all 6 base boxes. You had to like select 2 and then go through and add the rest yourself, which I think is ludicrous. But see, it's always choose 2 of the starter decks. I don't know why. I don't know why it's not just get all 6. Because who's going to buy just 2? Whatever.
Divine
It looks
Pact,
interesting. Well, yeah, I'm not going to buy
5,000,
that.
5,000 euros. Why? Why?
Well,
It's,
that gets you a whole lot of stuff. There's some
I
weirdness
don't
about this
care.
game. There's some real weirdness about printing the cards, and
Oh
that
my
seems
God.
to be what they're focusing on. Is you can, if you buy the card and register it in your account, then you can have them print and sell you as many copies of that card as you want. I don't know that I care about that, right? I don't plan on doing a whole lot of deck building with this thing. But I do enjoy sort of the core experience of taking one of those 6 starter decks and giving another one to somebody else and kind of playing with that and enjoying sort of the game itself.
Yeah. Look,
Are you going to be signing up for
whatever.
that, the 5,000 euro one?
I mean, whatever it is, it's just,
Oh, you do get all
it's,
6 starter decks in that one. That's great.
yes. Yes. It's as stupid as it can be. It sounds like a scam here. This is a,
it's
this is
well,
5,000. Come on.
I,
It's
it's not a scam
scam.
TCG because it's being backed by Asmodee, but
Yeah, but the
um,
price sounds like a scam.
the price is quite unusual, and I'm
No.
definitely not jumping in at that level.
And 94 people think that spending $5,000 on or euros on that one is better than doing something
Doing
or
anything else?
anything else
Yeah.
with go on a cruise. I don't know. You're gonna have much better time.
Well, if you buy the cards during this Kickstarter, they're going to have a foil stamp on them, which makes them, inherently more valuable, I
So
guess.
so basically it's an investment. So you buy it for 5,000 euros, then you put it on eBay and sell it for 10,000, and people are
Yeah,
gonna
well,
buy it.
that's a great investment, actually. Well,
That's what
anyway,
people usually do.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I
Hmm.
have to talk about.
Oof, terrible. Anyway,
The game's pretty fun, though.
mine is on Game Found, and look, I couldn't find anything I was interested in. Just
Okay,
nothing, really nothing. So I
that's
saw
fair. I see
this
lots of
I
games
saw
I've
this
played
one.
there.
So yeah,
Uh,
I saw this thing. It's a fold away portable stovey gaming table.
ugh.
And what I understood from this one, it's really expensive, but it's like it's basically a stool that has all the parts inside, and you basically build a full gaming table out of that luggage. I don't know, it's luggage size. It's if you think about
It
that,
looks like a
it's not
huge
big.
box. Yeah.
It's like a crate. It's a crate. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
You
it
take
is.
crate if you have a car, you go somewhere. I could see like they're playing Catan there, so they kind of fit in there. Uh, you can play quite a few games in that. I know that the huge games like Septima will not fit there, but your usual games, and you
Yeah.
can. What I enjoy about this one is that it's actually like you can just build it up. It's you have this crate, and then you build up the whole table. And this one seems to be like you can make it even bigger. Join two stories together, okay, to make it a huge table. Okay, got it.
At that point, you
So
just might as
that's
well buy a table.
yeah, it's quite expensive to be honest, but I like the idea. It's
It looks kind of cheap. It looks
yeah,
like
I don't know
I'm
the
hoping it's made of regular wood and not that awful kind of stuff that board game
it's
inserts are made out of. That
birch plywood, so it's not
oh,
the
that's pretty cheap.
cheapest.
That's the cheap stuff. That I mean, when I say
It's not
cheap, I don't mean.
cheapest.
I mean that's the same stuff that you'll like if you buy any of those sort of board game storage crates. That it's
Yeah.
not the kind of thing you'd want to sit on or put
Yeah,
a
but
whole
they
lot of weight on.
say, and you say you might wonder why we didn't opt for hardwood. It's like it's your question
Uh-huh.
basically, and I can totally see that the quality of wood would be so it will be much more expensive. Plus portability, I think that's the reason. Like, who's gonna lift this crate
Well,
of
I
hardwood?
understand. I just who's gonna I mean, I would worry if I sat on that stool, it would collapse. And if I
No,
put
no,
any
you're not
kind
gonna
of a
sit on
heavy
that
game,
stool. It's just a
well,
table,
okay.
just a table.
But I mean,
But
if you
you
call it a
can.
stool, it's for sitting. Um,
They call it a stool, but you can see you can play it here. You can
uh,
play it. But I don't know what's going on. It's a ghost.
I, I would be worried that if you put a heavy game on it, it might collapse because that stuff is not very sturdy.
I don't think so. I think it's if you make the joints and stuff like reinforce with the same material, so you can basically make something. I've been watching the camping videos with one guy who's doing a lot of camping, and he buys all the different stuff and does things of wood himself as well, and like etc. So it's quite sturdy actually. So I don't think it
Okay,
will. But anyway, it's a
I'm not
cool
going to buy
idea.
it.
Yeah,
But
it's a cool idea. It's just expensive.
yeah, I think you should buy it and give us a review.
Give me money and I'll buy it.
Oh, I don't want to spend money on that. That's very expensive.
Oh, sorry about that. Anyway, here we are. We're
Yeah.
done with this amazing stool versus 5,000 euro card game.
Yep. Those are
Let's
it's a
get
cheap
to
week on Kickstarter.
yeah, nothing else. So you can get a table and play that 5,000 euro card game on that table. By the way,
Yep.
it's not gonna be heavy. Anyway, let's get to the next topic, which is buy, try, goodbye.
All
So
right.
Kyle, you have to
Oh, I'm
give me a
presenting.
reason. You have to give
Yes.
me a
All right.
reason to choose something.
So, on the subject of we're talking about games that don't really need expansions, and one kind of game that doesn't usually need them is games that have long campaign stories. And so that's what we kind of
Huh.
have here is three long, very long type of games. We'll see what you think about it. The first one is a fairly popular game. It's one I've played a few times. I played about 50% of the whole overall campaign, I think. And that is a large miniatures focused game that comes in three enormous, enormous boxes. And that is Oathsworn.
So it comes in 3 boxes. Then it's not
Oh,
base game.
oh no, that's the base game with all the stuff that you need for it. It is enormous. It
Okay.
does not. Yeah, it's huge. Just sort of this base set with sort of the surprise miniature boxes because you're not supposed
Okay.
to see what's coming. It is just this is a huge thing. It has good story. You're going to go through an app. You can do a book instead, but there's an app that'll read the story to you, and you kind of play through a kind of a choose your own adventure phase, which ultimately I've concluded isn't all that significant. It just ends up
Mm-hmm.
when you finish there. I mean, because each scenario is kind of in a funnel. You're going to end up fighting the monster of that scenario, regardless of what you do in the story. But what you do in the story might give you a small bonus. It might make it more difficult. So it matters in that sense, but ultimately not. And then Eventually, you'll open one of these big boxes, and there'll be a giant rat in there, or a giant worm, or whatever the sort of big bad for the scenario is. You set it up. You play this sort of boss battle where you're fighting this scenario, and it's an interesting sort of. There's two ways, and I don't love that. I'll tell you. There's two ways to do the combat. You can either have this deck of cards, and the cards, you can flip as many as you like, but if ever you get to a miss, you miss, right? It's a waste. So it's an interesting push your luck with the cards. Or there are dice that you're going to roll, and that's much faster than the card thing, but it's a little swingier. And I wish it had one or the other, but okay, it doesn't hurt me if it has both. You can change which one you're using attack by attack, and you're ultimately trying to damage this big monster before the big monster comes and kills you. And that's
Hmm.
what you're doing. And then you're going to sort of pack that away, do some small upgrades, and go into the next sort of choose your own adventure story, and then the next boss battle. And you're going to keep doing this until you come to some sort of a conclusion. So that is number one.
Got it.
Number two, we have another game that is a large sort of a campaigny type game. And this is one that it looked like you hadn't played. And that surprised me a bit because I know you like this publisher, and that is Sleeping Gods.
Hmm.
And in Sleeping Gods, it is a large story. You open this box, and there's this book of maps, and you're going to go through it. And as you sort of go through these adventures, you're going to unlock various things, and it might, give you some sort of a keyword, and then you'll go somewhere else, and it'll say if you have this keyword, do this version of the adventure instead. And then you make a note of that on your map because you might come back later on when you have it and think, aha, I've got that thing. Your goal ultimately is to open sort of to find certain totems, and you can play, and you'll play through the scenario, and the first time you play through it, it's kind of this result. And then the second time, from that time onward, the next time you go, it's going to be based upon how many totems you have and what you've done before. And there are a bunch of different endings. You play it, it's long. It's about a 6-hour game session. And then you'll finish it, and you'll start a new one the next time you pull it out. It is maybe 70% reading a story and 30% playing a game, but there's a lot of discovery and exploration to be had there. So that is Sleeping Gods.
Okay.
And the third one we have is a game that I talked about briefly before, but it's another long campaign game called Kinfire Chronicles. And Kinfire
Uh,
Chronicles, you'll take one of a couple of characters and go through this sort of. It's a lot like Oathsworn in that regard, in that there's going to be a story, and I'm not convinced the story matters that much. Um, and that's going to lead you to some sort of a boss fight. And all the boss fights are really different so far. Rather than large miniatures, it's done in small standees. But it doesn't matter. It's sort of the same thing. There's this box of scenarios, and it's nice because you can just sort of pull out scenario 4, and it has all the scenario specific things in that envelope. Like many of these games, you're supposed to play it in order. I don't know if it would matter if you went back. There's a small bit of deck tweaking that can happen. You might get a better weapon, but your deck's always the same sort of composition of cards and symbols. And so, you sub something out, sub something in. And ultimately, the combat is all this interesting card play. I play a card to do an attack. My other players might be able to boost it by playing a boost card to sort of give my attack a bonus based upon what type of card I'm playing and what they've got in their hands. So there's kind of that, and then there's this persistent injuries that are going to come into your deck, which are not good. And you fight the bosses, you win. I've enjoyed the story, and the characters are different, not really like anything you see in most stories. So there you go. 3 long games that probably don't need expansions, although some of them have gotten them.
hmm
What do you
Yeah.
say?
So, so yeah, my my thought on campaign games overall, and you asked if why haven't I tried Sleeping Gods? It's basically the same issue that at some point I already had some other games going on with campaign modes or whatever, and it just couldn't get around it. I have a friend who told me that he wants to play with me, but I'm like, okay, so I have to commit myself. Will I be able? No. If I will not be able, why do that?
Mhm.
But
But now you have to
Sleeping
pick one.
Gods, yeah. So now Sleeping Gods is the one that I really wanted to try. At some point, I was considering buying it on the Kickstarter, but then I was like, okay, let's wait. Let's wait and see. It's huge. It's campaign. It's expensive. I'm not gonna delve into that. But out of those three, Sleeping Gods is the one I'm the most interested in. I would still want to try it. But when I told my friend, like, can we just try just one scenario and then be done with it? And like, he's like, no, you just have to
You have to commit.
commit. I'm like,
You're getting
nope,
married.
no, never, never again. So yeah, so Sleeping Gods would be a buy in this case.
Okay.
Try would be I think it would be Kinfire. I was called the Chronicles or something.
Fire Chronicles. All right.
Yeah, so that would be the one because it felt like as you explained it, and I looked at the pictures, it felt a little bit smaller, more compact, without lots of huge miniatures for no reason, not overproduced. Yeah, looking good as well. So that would be a try. And Oathsworn, it's just I'm I'm opposed to massive games. I realized that I'm opposed to massive games. When I see a massive games with several boxes, I'm like, nope, goodbye. That's what I literally say when I see that. I'm like, goodbye. So goodbye to Oathsworn or Swarm, whatever it was,
Oathsworn.
with M or
Well,
N. I don't know.
with an N. It's a
Okay,
sworn as those you're
with
swearing an oath rather than a
Nikolai.
bunch of
Yeah.
bugs. Hmm.
All right. So yeah, that's my choice.
There you go.
Let's get to the topic of the day,
Let's go.
which is top 5 games. Oops. Let me turn this one off. Top 5 games that don't need expansions. Now, as you said, campaign games are almost like the games that don't need expansions in a sense, but that's the thing I avoided for this list because
I don't have
it's
any either.
it's like legacy games as well. Like you just go through it. Yeah, it
Mhm.
doesn't need an expansion because it's a legacy game. I'm like, okay, it's campaign games almost the same. It's a different story here. Now, what I think about this topic as overall, it's like there are games that when you play them, you feel like it's enough. I mean, I'm not opposed if it has an expansion. I'm like, okay, why not? But it's not something I would wait for. Like with some
Yeah.
games I play them, I'm like, oh, I wish that or this or whatever could be here. Like they could expand on this thing. Like, there's not enough special abilities, not enough of that. It's
Mhm.
sometimes you feel like that. And most of the times, I love to see an expansion. I would love to see expansion to a game I enjoy. But with some games, I'm like, yeah. And with some games, um, I couldn't come up if I remember. There's just so many games, but I remember for maybe a few of those, I was like, this why is this expansion here? It just doesn't
Yeah.
add anything, just adds complexity, this thing. So not like some of those games, they do have expansions. Do they need them? No, for whatever reason. Some of those don't have expansions, and I think they don't need them. It's
Yeah.
that idea.
And that's kind of where I am too. In some of these games, the ones that do have expansions, in many cases, I either never play with the expansion or I have added the expansion at one point and either had to take it out or wished I had been able to take it out because it changes the game in a way that I don't love.
Yeah, yeah. So it's opposite of essential expansions, basically.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to number 5.
Let's go. All right. My number 5 is an older game, and it's a game that kind of is famous for having too many and not good expansions. And that game is Race for the Galaxy.
Hmm.
So, base Race for the Galaxy is delightful if you can get past the symbols. And these days, there are enough games with complex symbols that most people that play a lot of games probably can. Um, but you add in the expansions, and it starts changing the game. It doesn't change it in a way that it's not like a deck for Summoner Wars where you would just sort of choose to play it or not. It's a simple expansion. No, these cards get shuffled into this huge deck and are a pain to take back out again. But they change sort of the way that aspects of the game work. They, ruin they have this weird combat thing, and then there's this power that you're going up. There's one that you have like this sort of a board you're exploring. And none of the expansions so far, with maybe the exception of the very first one, have changed the game in a way that made it any better or more fun. But because of sort of
Mm-hmm.
how cards are, it's difficult. It's going to be a lot of work once you've shuffled in all of these cards to take them back out again. So this is a game where I like the base game. I like maybe the first expansion. I like none of the rest, but my copy is polluted with all of these extra cards. And if I want to play it again, it's going to be a lot of work.
Okay,
So
got it.
there you are.
Yeah, I mean, I played Roll for the Galaxy, and I don't know. I There was an expansion for Roll for the Galaxy, but I remember I enjoyed the base game. It was enough, but it was so
Mhm.
so long time ago, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, my number 5 is the game that we played recently, and we played on the cruise, and I just thought about it again. I'm like, I want to play it again. Like my first play was not enough to maybe enjoy it that much, but I still enjoyed it. Um, Oops, I'm sorry. Here we go. My number 5 is Distilled.
Ah,
Yeah, so I would see there are some expansions, whatnot, but I felt like this game is done. It's
yeah,
There's quite a few variations on the ingredients, etc. You can see the barrels and stuff. This basic stuff. I've like there's enough of those liquors, strong alcohol, etc. You're doing all of this stuff. You are mixing the drinks with the uh, mix the ingredients. Then you take out the push your luck to take out
yeah,
the top card, the bottom card, all that's fun stuff going on here, and then you can put some of those drinks to age. You have enough to do in this game, and I feel like what could be done, like even more ingredients. I'm not gonna see half of them,
yeah,
probably, and like there's a lot of those. I mean, like there's enough of those special powers. One of the things when sometimes I feel like some games I'm like I always put it on my list here, but then I'm like, but I would love to see more special abilities. In this one, I understood there's enough. I looked at some of them. It's fine. I More alcohol, more of these different recipes. It will feel convoluted for me. Like it's just when there's too much. Like, oh, this needs that barrel. Oh, this doesn't need that barley thing. This needs to be without this one. It's like if you have too many recipes, it feels like you will not keep track of them that well, and you make more mistakes. So yeah, I feel like this
yeah,
is a perfect package for game about brewing the strong alcohol. Yeah.
yeah. So an issue with this game, and you didn't experience it, because I set it up, is you play with these flights of alcohol. So we played with flight C, I think. I don't remember what it was, right? But that means that you then sort of pick only the 7 alcohols that are on that flight, and then
Oh.
you have to go through this deck of people with the different countries that participate, so that you have characters that interact with those alcohols, and that part is super annoying. I'll tell you that is my least favorite part of this game, is setting up that part where, because there's not really an easy way. The way the cards are labeled, it's not easy. You
Hmm.
kind of have to look at the picture and say, okay. And I think you helped with that part. But there's, okay, we've got the twins, we've got the nun, we've got, but it's
Yeah, yeah,
there's no natural way to store the game where these things are always set up, unless you're always going to play with flight A or
yeah.
whatever it is.
But I mean, this
So
does not.
mhm,
This is not an expansion issue. It's more of a just
no,
more
but
complicated setup issue.
when you add the expansion in, though, it complicates that. There is a small expansion. It's about the Middle East or something, and it adds more things to the deck, which of course affects the distribution. Which means that if you really need barley, it might not come up. And if you used your
Oh,
special barley, well, then you're kind of out of luck. And so as you sort of increase those decks, the special ability deck, yeah, add more to that. But the ingredient deck and that bottom one, which is the bottles and barrels and stuff, if you're not seeing what you need and the deck is too big, that can be problematic.
yeah. Basically that's what I said. It's like I felt
Yeah.
like this. There are enough cards that adding more will basically, as I said, you will not see half of that deck. And with more strategic games, you don't want to be in a position where you it's a lucky swing if you get that particular ingredient or not.
Right.
It's I'd rather
Yep.
go through the whole deck and see what I can do. So yeah, it's
Sure.
distilled. So you kind of agree with me, as I understand.
I think you have talked me around on distilled.
Okay, got it. Let's get to numero 4.
All right, number 4 is a giant game that I recently discovered, and I got it through a Kickstarter and threw all the expansions in, and immediately regretted it. There are some expansions. This game is huge. This game is just one of those large games. It's not a campaign, but it's so big by itself, and that adding more stuff in has made it to the point where I'm not sure when I'll ever try it again. And that game is called Euthia, Euthia. Torment
EUT
HI.
HIA.
Yep, Torment Resurrection. That's the first one there. So this is a game that, as I played it with Victor, he said this really should have been a video game. You are going around almost
Yeah.
like style and exploring this map and having these encounters and fighting these enemies. And look, I'm not going to tell you there's some issues with the game as it is, but you can see how big it is there. And once
Oof.
you add in the expansion content, it's not easy to pull it back out again.
Oh my god.
It's sort of you've committed to that irrevocably, and and so sort of as we were playing it, something would come up and we would be like, okay, what is this? And it was like, okay, this is an expansion one. Let's set it out. And but because of how everything kind of comes together, it's not easy just to pull it all out and store it. So we just ended up, having to have all this stuff, and we would realize, 10 minutes later that one of the expansion tiles was out there. And at that point, I was like, he said, "Is this one that we should have?" I said, "Are you going to go there?" He said, "No." Well, let's just leave it. Just don't go there. Uh, and I found that I worry that the fact that the expansion is in there, and I know that, will cause me to be much less likely to pull this out and try it again. I do want to try it again. I think there is some potential here, but it is already a huge bloated product, and adding more expansion into that really just makes it worse.
Yeah. It looks like, by the way, it looks like, so the map looks like Rune Wars if you played Rune Wars
Okay,
from the
yeah.
distance, and then the player boards are Sanctum. So it's
The player
Rune
boards
Wars,
are Sanctum.
yeah, basically plus Sanctum. So it seems like two games in one, and Rune Wars was enormous box. I
See,
mean,
and
like,
I've not really played Rune Wars, but I would say it's Sanctum plus Mage Knight, which is a very
uh,
similar other. Those
maybe,
boards are also a
yeah,
lot like Mage Knight boards.
yeah.
But either way, neither of those games is small and well, I would love some more stuff for Sanctum, but we're never going to get it.
Yes, that's yeah.
Sanctum
Sanctum.
is a small
Yes.
game, and Sanctum needs an expansion or two. I think it'd be well, and its solo expansion saved it for me. But this thing though is just
So
it's a bloated whale of a game
so you're
already.
saying yeah. So you're saying we should take some of the stuff out of this game, put it into Sanctum,
If it were play
and make it
tested and would work, yes. But I don't think it will.
Frankenstein of a game. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's
I can
just
totally
so
see that.
much
I
going
can
on
already
here.
see it. I can already see that. Yeah. It just yeah.
No, that's a small
Yeah.
scenario.
Oh my, just towers and stuff. Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Whatever.
putting those together took like a week.
A decade. All right. So my number 4 and my phone died. Okay. My number 4 is another Euro game, which I felt like it is a complete experience, and with quite a few games, I always think about what should be added here. Like if there would be an expansion, how could I, for example, expand the game, or what would I want from this game to be expanded, whatever. And I usually come up with quite a few things that I want to see. With this one, I'm struggling. I don't know what more of that, but it's already enough. More of that, no. Like that's Black Angel.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a really good game. It's a Euro game where you use dice as a worker placement source. It's again very procedural. So one of my favorite words recently, where you play cards and this is the color, and then the color matters further on into your whatever dice you choose, whatever else you do. It is like a plan ahead stuff. Uh, and you have your own board where you like a mini game. I call it different mini games. So it's a mini game of your own board, trying to put the tiles down, do the bonuses, put the cards down, etc. Then you have the mini game, or let's say then you have the main board with the action selection and the dice and all buying stuff. And then you have the third board, which is a space, yeah, like where you're traveling, and
Yep.
then on that space you can put down cards of the same color and use them as worker spots or whatever it is. So it's another mini game. So there is enough going on. Uh, your How you approach the game might be very different each time depending on who you play with as well. So I feel this game is complete. Like if you would add, what else would you add? A special technology track that would be a fourth mini puzzle game that you would add. Like what else? What else? A bigger space? No. Uh, I don't know. The worker spots they're balanced, so adding more worker spots would make it imbalanced. So usually with worker placement games, you add corruption as a resource, but here you kind of have this corruption going on with the red cards. It's not corruption, but it's a negative thing. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's abstract in a sense. So I don't know. I don't see what can you add here.
Yeah. I
Special
mean, you
abilities?
could you
No,
could
no.
add the ladies of Black Angel. Um,
What?
oh, Black Angel is based on a game called Troyes, and it had an expansion called The Ladies of Troyes.
I see. I see. Yeah.
But yeah, the Ladies of Black Angel. Other than that,
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I like
That's
this is this. I agree with this. It's complete. I don't think that it needs any more, and I don't know that it was a huge success, so I doubt it's going to get any more.
yeah, but it wasn't a huge success. But still, if you enjoy Euro games, um, if you
Yep,
enjoy those mini puzzles and stuff, you should definitely try this one. It's a solid game.
it is.
Let's get to number 3.
All right, my number three is a game that I believe you have played. And it is a game that I got all the expansions for, and I have never
Okay.
used them. and because of how much is going on with this game, I doubt I ever will, because I end up teaching it, and I don't want to teach it with all these expansion modules. And this game is not evacuate. Why can't I? Why can't I remember it? It's not evacuation.
Underwater cities.
No, I all of a sudden blanked. I have it written down, but it's in terrible handwriting.
Uh,
I'm-
what's the theme?
it's that Mind Clash one where you're evacuating the world.
Oh,
It's in
Anachrony.
that's the one. I wrote it down. For some reason I wrote down evacuation, but I meant Anachrony. Having an
Yeah, I thought
amazing
about this
morning.
one.
It's early. Yeah, Anachrony. I know which one I mean. This is a game. It comes with a couple of small. I'll say, the expansion of those mech minis is maybe the exception to that. That's the one thing I always use. Everything else, though, it already comes with a couple of modules with the different
It's a
leaders.
component upgrade. It's not it's like expansion, but it's component upgrade.
Yeah,
It's not an expansion
that
for
one.
me.
But the other ones, there's 2 or 3 of these modular expansions that came in separate boxes, and they're in this enormous crate that it's so big I never want to open it. And they add changes to the rules, but again, this game already has a lot going on with it,
Yes.
a lot going on with it. And I don't know that I'm ever going to play with those expansions. I would love to maybe try them eventually someday if I had somebody who loved this game, already knew how to play it, already was very familiar with the base, remembered how to play, because this is one where after it's been off my table for a week, I've forgotten how to play it again. I've apparently also forgotten the name.
Yeah.
But
A good game.
it is a good game. It's got so much going on that I don't know that I want or need any more for it. And I don't know that
Yes.
I'll ever use the more that I already have.
Yes. This is not on my list, and I would have put it on my list, but because I got the Kickstarter edition of the first ever Kickstarter for this game, I got a Kickstarter edition. I'm not sure if all of the stuff in the box that I got is the base game. Do you consider it the base game, or are there expansions? Because there's some modules.
There are a couple
I'm like,
modules that come with the base game.
okay, so I was not sure. I was like, maybe I got like the base game with some of the expansions. Then I'm like, am I playing one of the expansions or not? I don't even I don't even know. It's just
You
so
would
much.
know
But yeah, I agree.
the box is like that big if it has the expansions in it.
Yes, I was just confused by what I have in the box myself. So yeah, the miniatures for the mechs. Come on, it's called expansion. It's I'm sorry, bullshit. It's a component
I'm looking
upgrade.
at words.
It's the same as with Underwater Cities when they like the Underwater Cities came out with the expansion that added different modules, but one of the things it added was 4 better player
Better
boards. It's
boards.
like, and this is expansion module. No, it's not. It's a upgrade. It's a literal component upgrade. So yeah, I totally agree. I would just so confused. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna put it on the list here just to be sure I'm not cheating.
Okay, well, that's fine.
But
put it
I
on the
never
list
play
just under the
beyond
wrong
base
name.
game.
Um,
Yeah, it's enough. I just play how it is. There are some. Then, as you said, there are some modules that I even haven't touched
Yeah.
once, because each time I play, it's with a new person. So I'm not like, I have to remember the game now myself, and then learn something new, and then teach them all of that. I'm like, oh wait, let's not dive into that. Okay. Mhm.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. So my number 3 is a game that you have also played that has the expansion now, or just came
Mhm.
out, I think. The mini expansion, I would say, which I looked at and I didn't get it because I'm like, do I really need that expansion? It doesn't really add much. Maybe it's great, maybe not. But I felt like the game is complete, and I'm fine with that. It's called Wonderland's War.
Mm.
I look.
It's a
It
very
might,
small expansion.
yeah, it might be that with this game you can say you can always add more of this of the special characters or whatever, more of the different factions, whatever. But the game is the factions need to be balanced really well. And I felt like they had some issues with the balancing. Then they came out with the expansion that Kickstarter was there that also sold upgrades and the upgraded player sheets for two of the factions, which is not an expansion, which is basically an upgrade yet again.
Oh
Now
no,
this game
it's not
is
upgrades. They're updated. They're reprints of sort of.
or
I think
whatever, yeah,
they're balancing fixes. I think is what they
yeah,
are.
yeah. So anyway, but there
That's
is
not an
enough of the
expansion.
cards. Yeah, there's enough of the cards, there's enough of the tokens, there's enough of stuff going on. I feel like this game is totally complete. The realms that you fight in, or you have this area control in, adding more of those. Why it's not like a fighting game where you need new locations with the
Mhm.
special things. It's just like all of these different realms. They have different scoring tokens, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
they are not something special. So it's like just different scoring opportunities. I mean, like not scoring opportunities, but different points in different realms. That's it. And the player sheets are enough, I think, to make the game balanced. It's fine enough. The back building is great. I love it. Uh,
Sure.
the the tea party phase where you go around the table collecting cards. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
I just feel this game I would love to have upgrades. I just couldn't, you know. I was looking at the poker chips once, and I want them,
Those are
but they're
nice.
so expensive.
Huh, well,
Uh,
fair enough.
s- I'm like they cost more than the game, so yeah.
A
Um,
package of coin capsules will cost you a lot less.
yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe I'll just go with that. So yeah. So I really enjoyed the game, and I feel like this game is complete. Yet again, this is the theme of today's
Yeah.
episode. It's complete. There's nothing more I would love to add, in my opinion.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, it's a good one. I got the expansion. I'll tell you, it is the smallest of expansions. It's a few more characters that you can shuffle in, and a bunch of rings to put on the mini bases if you have the minis.
Do I need?
So I
Do you need them? Like, is it essential? Is it do you need that expansion, or
so
is it like just
if you
like
have well, the rings I consider but again, that's not really an expansion. The
it's
rings
upgrade?
are
Yeah.
very nice to have because if you have the minis, I know some people have standees, and the standees it wouldn't matter, but with the minis, because they're all this kind of gray blonde, this gray boring color, having the ring on there makes it a lot easier to tell which characters where.
Uh, this is an upgrade yet again. So
Yes, it
we
is.
should
This is not an
probably
expansion.
it probably has non-official version on Etsy or something like that. It's
Well, it probably does.
all
And
right.
I'm not going to go there because I always end up buying something.
Okay, true.
All
Anyway,
right,
let's get to number two.
number two. All right, my number two is a game that you have also played, and I have the right name. This is a game by the same publisher as my number three, and I think lots of their games fit into this. But this is a huge, huge game that I've made some component changes through Etsy. But this game is called Voidfall, and this is an enormous game. I mean, this game
Yeah.
already has so much. You're already looking at a good hour to set it up, just straight out of the box. Um, and it already comes with with a rule book with, I think, maybe 20 scenarios for solo, 20 for cooperative, and 20 for competitive. And I think that is enough scenarios because I'll tell you, every time I play, I end up playing the most basic of those scenarios. And still, I don't feel like I've had, like I've not experienced the game. I feel like I've been experiencing a lot. It comes with, I don't know, 15 different factions, each with a small special ability and different player board. And I like using those, right? I'm glad I have them. And if I teach it again, I'm probably going to play with those ones because I like the variety. But the game itself does not need any more. It doesn't need more technologies. It doesn't need more spaceship types. It doesn't need more hexes. It's already plenty. There's plenty here. I don't want any more. If more comes out, I probably won't buy it. And this is a game that I'll tell you, don't get the deluxe version, get the regular one, because the deluxe one actually has some components that I've disposed of, which are those ships on those stands. You remember that? Those are terrible. I got some 3D from Etsy, which are much better.
Okay.
Hold their cubes, and you don't have to keep assembling them. This is just a game. This is a huge, huge game. I really like this game. If this game gets in its own way, it would be a 10 out of 10 for me if it didn't get in its own way so much. And it loses something for that. But I just don't know that I want anymore. I think with all these scenarios I've got and all the variety that's already there, if more comes, I might say no, thank you.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I mean, I played it once, and there was so much going on that, yeah, it's something. If I would have this game in my collection, I would never get to any of the expansions. Never. It just all of their basically their philosophy is just put out a game that has everything. It's like everything put in a sink. It's like the kitchen sink thing, and mixed together, and then let's just have people have that, and then if they like the game, and then push the FOMO button, and put out a bunch of modules and expansions that they definitely don't need, and they don't even have space nor money to buy them or store them, but they're gonna get a loan and still buy that stuff and never play it. It just
Are we playing Anachrony now?
Yeah, I think it's the triggering the FOMO, so it's a business model. That's it, because these games do not need that.
No, this game definitely does not. This game, I mean, if nothing ever, I could play this game once a week for the next 5 years and still feel like I was enjoying it and had not experienced everything.
Got it. All right, for my number 2, let's go the opposite way to simple games, and one of the simplest games that I feel does not need any expansions because it just works. It's fun. It needs to be light. If you add any of the expansions, like it would probably make it more complex. So I would avoid it playing with people that don't play games, etc. So I don't know. Like it's the perfect weight and the perfect amount of information in the game, and that's Camel Up.
Yeah, well, I mean, that has some expansions.
Yes, I've never looked at the expansions, and I don't know. I play the game a bunch, and it's just simple, fun. The turns are quick. Like take this, take that. You roll die. The camels, they always end up in different place. Like each race, each time you play it, it's gonna be different because it depends how the dice come up, etc. So
yeah,
and it's fun. It's simple. I can teach it to anyone. I don't see a need for the expansion. This is a perfect family game.
It is a very good game. Now, I will say the version you're showing there has some. I mean, the new version of it has expansions that were from the pieces that were expansions from the first version.
So I
like the black and white camels, for example.
Okay, yeah. So I chose Camel Up Second Edition. I have not played the first edition. I tried to avoid games on my list that have like, I don't know, Kemet, Blood and Sand, etc. So, but technically, it's a new edition. That's now a base game. So technically, you could put that on the list as well. But I tried to avoid that. Yeah. But Camel Up, I didn't know. I just thought it's how it is.
Having played both of them, the black and white camels is the only piece of the expansion that I've ever added in and used. The rest of them, sort of like the photographer and all that stuff, I never really played with. So, I mean, and what you're getting here is the base game. I don't think you can buy the original one anymore, nor would you want to. Um,
Yeah, better pyramid. So anyway, checking the dice and seeing where the camels land. A perfect game. Adding more would just convolute the experience and probably make it less attractive to people who don't play games because it will be
Sure.
just too complex.
Makes sense.
And finally, let's get to number one.
Number one. All right. My number one is a game that has lots of expansions. It has so many, and I see them sitting behind me on my shelf, and most of them have not even been opened. Because this,
Unmatched?
well, no, I've definitely Unmatched is a game where the expansions just jump right in. That's a game that needs more. Um,
Just kidding.
no, this is a game. It's a game you enjoy, and it is a game where there's just so much, and the base game is already pretty convoluted. That
Mm-hmm.
I have this huge pile of expansions, and well, you can't see it, but the game is Nemesis, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are so many expansions for this thing. Now, I mean, one of them adds an extra character. Okay, fine. But most of the expansions, from what I can tell, add a whole bunch more rules and convoluted concepts. And again, the game already is it's a fun game. It's a game I enjoy. It's got a lot of excitement and discovery and adventure, but there's enough discovery, excitement, and adventure in that base box that I'm never going to open this huge pile of boxes. I mean, I turn around and I see at least 6 boxes of expansions that I have not opened. I can still see the shrink wrap on them. And
Yeah.
I don't know when I will, because this is a game, again, it's difficult enough for new players to get into that I don't want to add a whole bunch of extra stuff. And if I don't have a group that loves it so much that we play it every week, that I'm going to sort of get bored of doing all these scenarios. There's already a co-op, and there's a semi co-op, and there's already enough going on. I don't know that even if I have more, I don't know that I'm ever going to use it.
So yeah, so the base box of Nemesis is so I got the Kickstarter copy, and this one I knew exactly what was in it. There were I got also like 2 expansions that just came in with the base box. So there was like those new enemies, which I've not
Mhm.
used yet. They're like psychological enemies, whatever. But there's the expansion, the other, I think the Aftermath, that adds more characters.
Aftermath is
That
a different
adds
game.
not the Aftermath, something I don't remember. Anyway, it's if no Aftermath. Yeah, it's not a different game. It's the
Oh, I'm
expansion.
thinking of a different one then. I'm thinking of the one in the red box. No,
Yeah, it's called No, Retaliation is the latest one. Anyway, so this one adds
a little brand confusion there.
so it adds more characters. I think it adds turrets as well, etc. Some small stuff which I enjoy adding into
Mhm.
my into the base game. So this is the one where I don't think I use everything from here, but the turrets and extra characters are very much welcome to Game of Nemesis. So that's why I didn't not put it on my list. It would be my number one. It's because I use Aftermath, and I would
Okay.
not play it without.
And what
So
about the Kings of Space and the
no, I've not bought anything else for the Nemesis. So what I have like I have like the that's what I see. I think I had more boxes, but I have this base box and I have this other box, which I think was the Aftermath plus the new enemies. But these are all expansions. They
Lockdown?
like
That's the other one. That's the one I was thinking
retail. They are sold separately.
of.
But
Okay.
anyway, so yeah, it's just because I'm using expansion stuff, which it feels like a base game because more characters does not add a lot, and turrets are not complicated. But I think there's also more rooms, which I also
There's more
welcome.
rooms.
So
There's a
Aftermath
whole bunch of
is
new enemies.
it's no the Aftermath is a small expansion, so it's
Okay.
4 new rooms too. Basically, it's not a lot. It adds traits, which is a small thing. I also use that, and new characters. So basically, it adds, it adds something that is not really complicated.
Okay. Well, I think
And
that one came with my copy, but I mean the story dice, the untold
no, no,
stories,
no. This
the
is
void
BS.
seeders.
You don't need that. Yeah. So
No.
this one definitely. If you play Nemesis, I would encourage you to play with the traits and new characters and rooms because I mean, come on, it's not complicated to add those. It feels like a base game. I mean, adding this expansion, so that's why almost like a base game for me. Anyway, yeah,
Okay.
I
There you go.
I could agree. Like beyond that, Aftermath, nah, I I
You
haven't
don't need
bought
the
anything.
carnomorphs.
No, with some of the games, by the way, like with Nemesis, and there are some other games. Like for example, I was thinking about Imperium Classics and Legends, which came out. Like, but these are like base games that are standalone expansions as well, and you kind of want them, but they are standalone, but they are expansions as well. This is what confuses me with Nemesis, the newest one. I want the newest one, but it's a new edition of the game.
It's a new game. It's going to be like Lockdown. It's a different game, and it's not really backwards compatible.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So it's
Anyway,
I don't think so. I think it's a standalone game with different rules and different experience, a different experience.
yeah. But it reminded me. So Lockdown was different, but the last one reminded me of the first Nemesis much more. It just and I felt like the newer one. I've not played that. But what I saw, I felt like ooh, it's an upgrade to Nemesis. I might, it might uh,
It might
replace
tempt you.
Nemesis.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's get to my number one. My number
Let's
one
go.
is another easy game that even within I think no, it's one of the base modules that you played. You played on the cruise. You played the game on the cruise, showing it to people, and so they picked a certain module that they should have not picked
Hmm.
for the first game. Definitely, I would just go. Just let's play A and B or A and D. I think that's called First Class,
Hmm.
and it just so I do have everything. I have module. So there's F, G, Tea Time, and Call for Tenders, which are small promo expansions. Which I have them. I can add them. Do I need to add them? No. F and G. G is Magician deck. I mean, it's fun to have those extra modules, but you don't really need them. You'll be happy without them. There's enough modules. One thing is that there are some modules that some people enjoy. By the way, like the module I think A B C module I think is the or D. I don't remember. One of the modules is the murder mystery thing.
Let's
Some
see.
people enjoy it. A C. Okay, I hate it. Some people enjoy it because one of the players is just like, "Ooh, you were unlucky. You were eliminated from the game. You don't score any points." But the whole idea of the game is to score tons of points. That's the fun of the game. But anyway, this is kind of like a train game where you're building up your train, trying to score the most points, and you draft the cards from the center. It's rather easy game. It with 2 players you can play it really fast. If you know the game, 45 minutes at most, and it's done. And
Sure.
you like scored like 300 plus points. It's that kind of a game, really rewarding game. So and it has modules like A, B, C, D, E. I think 5
That's what's
modules.
in the box. Yep.
So you can mix and match those. There's enough content in it, enough gameplay, enough cards, enough strategies. Yeah, just play this base game that has 5 modules. You'll be fine. Trust me. I mean,
Do I?
it's maybe because if maybe because the modules that came out, they're small things and they were not as exciting. I don't know, maybe
Hmm.
because of that, I feel like it doesn't need an expansion. Maybe if they come up with something amazing, they will not, most likely. But if they would come up with something amazing, I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah, now this game needs an expansion. Like sometimes it is like that. Like you never know you need an expansion until an expansion comes out, and you're like, ooh, that's a great idea. We don't know that. With first
Right.
class, just go with the base game. You'll be fine for a long period of time.
Okay. I believe that is true.
It is. It's an amazing game.
Yeah, I enjoy this game. Some people less so, but I enjoy it.
I wanted to show them that game during the
Yeah,
cruise again with other modules so they would like it more. But then we didn't find time.
it happens. There's always next year.
I'll make them play this game again with better
Oh,
modules.
well. All right.
I'll make they. You said they picked E.
They did.
uh, uh, that yeah.
And I was like, well, okay. I mean, I'm not going to force someone to play something one way or the other, but it was probably not the best choice in retrospect.
Yeah, I think E is better with another. So I don't remember this. Like there are some suggestions. You can go on the forums and ask for the best best mixes of modules. They'll tell you. All right, that's it.
Yep.
Here we go. We're done. There's nothing else to talk about. We've done it again. Gave
We have.
you. I think we gave you all of our picks were different, so we gave you another
They
10
were.
games
Hmm.
to. It's basically what we did. We saved you some money because you can buy these games and be sure you'll be happy with those games without the need to buy expansions.
That's true.
So Kyle is a specialist in money saving. So
Yeah, I'm always saving you money.
for retirement,
Yes, I like to save my own. Unfortunately, I do a terrible job when board games are involved. These are all expansions I've already paid for.
yeah, all the stuff on Kyle's list is games that don't need expansions, but he bought them anyway.
Hmm.
Is it
That's
true?
unfortunately true. Uh,
Just how it is. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you around.
all right. Bye bye.
Gute Nacht. Bye bye.